You're listening to the Happy Hour Todcast presented by GoodCleanFunLife.com. Find us on iTunes by searching GCFL and subscribe today. I am Todd from GoodCleanFunLife.com.
And I am Tony Russo from MotionCity.com. I had a different sentence altogether in my head, and as it started, I'm like, "Oh no, wait, those aren't the words."
a little cloudy, or
yeah, a little cloudy. I've been sick, and I'm not too mad to admit it. One of the things that's fun about being sick, I have to admit, I had too much to drink, and I almost let the secret out. But everybody else also had too much to drink, so I don't think they cared. There's this really cliche thing about, men can't handle being sick. And I'm like, how you go to the gym and the men are just silently lifting weights, or just like, oh, it's so much easier if I don't make any noise.
Right.
Like the catharsis is what allows us to get through it. Like, I'm sorry that I get paid more, and I'm sorry that I wasn't brought up in a culture that said, shut up and be seen and not heard. You know,
right.
I'm not from the be seen and not heard culture. I'm from the be heard.
Right. You are the squeaky wheel.
I am the squeaky wheel, and it's funny because now, because I get sick once every 2 years. I think it's been maybe 3 years since I was sick, like really sick last time, flu-ish. I get the 1 out of 3 flus.
Okay.
Which isn't bad.
Not bad at all.
No. And I realized last time, I'm like, you know what? As long as you're gonna get shit for like being whiny, like own it.
Might as well be whiny.
So now I'm all the id all the time. I moan and I indulge in any whimpering I want to do, but I really feel like it. I feel like it carries me through. I think it's the point of being sick is to just go with it.
Right. Is to be sick.
Yeah, you may as well, right? As long as you're sick. I mean, you don't.
Well, you're not going to be cut any slack if you moan, like you say, quiet, and then you make one comment, and it's
absolutely
you men.
So you may as well own it. And the other thing is, like, you don't get credit. Nobody says, you know what? He always soldiers, unless you're a sickly person.
Right.
Like, I'm sick once every 3 years.
Yeah.
So nobody's always, you know what? You know what's really impressive about Tony? Even when he's sick, he powers on through and you don't know it.
Yes.
I'll tell you what, when I have a little sickness, I do power on through and you don't know it because
that's why I'm powering through it.
Because I'm powering through and you don't know it. But when I have a cold, I mean, when I have like a flu, when I can't stay conscious for 6 or 8 hours at a clip, yeah, you're going to hear about it.
Right.
And if I'm in pain, yeah, I'm going to share it. I'm going to own it.
And if it's bad enough, it will make the show.
Absolutely. And so we have more fun things than that to talk about today. But I wanted to get started off with that because it was just something that was, so we were at a party recently, and then at the end of the party, I'm just like, because the women were giving me a hard time. I'm like, I'm sorry I make more, and I'm sorry that I get to just say whatever I want whenever I want. But them's the rules. And no one like, how guys are always like, oh, when women are sick, they're always so quiet. I don't think we notice.
I think it would be wrong to say, oh, women are good at being sick, because then that's,
It's really, I know it's very hacky, 80s stand-up comedy material, but that's how it is.
So that the first 5 minutes of the show brought to you by
misogyny.
Emergency and misogyny.
But we do have plenty of stuff to talk about this week. I actually found some stuff that I thought we'd already spoken about, but we didn't. But before we get to that, because there's a potential another show change in the works. And I thought we'd go over that, and I thought Todd would go over it.
Yeah, definitely. So we've been doing this for 215 episodes, 214, and it's always changing, and we've talked about it. I feel like I've always wanted to do the live component, but I always like having the produced piece. But now there's, and we've talked about Facebook Live is a thing, and I think it's now people are aware of it, and it's happening, and people are using it, and I think it's a pretty good thing. And I think if you're like us, and we've been making a half-hour show every week almost
for 5. Is this 5?
It's coming up on a lot,
right? It's St. Patrick's Day is your anniversary. Happy anniversary.
Thank you.
And it was just after that.
Yeah. So probably 5 years. Like, what better platform than Facebook that is slowly taking over the world to at least give it a shot. So I think we're doing the produce piece, and we'll have to figure out. We're still like we have the opposing cameras, so that you can look that direction and I can look this direction. But
and
we
so
still
it looks like we're
we still
cockeyed,
like but we still talk to each other. And then the other part is we'll just do the live bit through Facebook, and we do the audio through any one of the number of tools that we have.
Right.
I don't know. I think it might be something interesting. We've been practicing for this long.
We're already good at it. It would be nice if someone knew. One of the things that I've been struggling with Facebook, with the Facebook articles and these new components of Facebook, and throw it in the back of your head or throw it in the front of your head and let's talk about it a little bit, is I think that it might be better for building a brand than for maintaining one.
Right.
Like if I already have a lot of traffic on my website,
right,
then I think using Facebook is a way to get less traffic.
I see what you're saying.
However, if I have a website that no one's using,
mm-hmm.
and Facebook is now promoting this hot new toy,
right,
they're going to say, all right, well, everyone who's using this is going to get promoted. And if you do that, and the difficulty will be making the conversions. But I think that if you can convert people to your site, and the thing about what we do, especially with video, what's tough with video is, let them host the video. That's a lot of space.
Yes.
With audio, there has to be a place for it, but the video and with the content, it's the same thing. Just after a while, you can turn off the content, and by then you'll be hopefully getting enough traction that they don't care, that people are finding you on their own.
Well, and every platform has a different purpose. So like if we'll do I want to do the produce piece because it's going to live longer, and you're going to have better quality of view, people actually watching it on YouTube.
Right.
Facebook, you're going to get an initial bump, and we might get some interaction, which would be fun. Somebody making comments and that sort of thing. There, but then you're right. It's not necessarily, if you're a big brand, they're asking for your advertising dollars.
Right. So it's like, stop coming in my store and go buy stuff from Amazon.
Right.
Go buy my stuff on Amazon because I like paying that commission.
But doing what we do, I like experimenting. I like trying new things.
And not only that, we're not hit driven. We're not selling anything. We're doing this because we like the sound of our own voice. And we're doing this as a way of kind of just promoting the other things that we do.
Sure.
So the Todcast website isn't going to lose a lot of visitors.
a lot of traction.
We're not starting from a place where, and what's weird is like, as you go around, I don't know, it must happen to you, but people have this vague sense like, oh yeah, you do that thing that I always think I'm going to look at, but I don't.
Right. Right. Like apparently you wrote a book.
Yeah, apparently I wrote a book, and did I tell you got recognized? Did I have that conversation with you?
I'm not sure you told me that, but I thought it was great when we were at the HMRA show a couple weeks ago. I said hello to you, and somebody walked by. And now, granted, you had just finished your your panel or whatever, I believe. And somebody's like, "Hey, Tony, love the podcast. Keep it up." I'm like, wow, man, you got fans.
Well, those are Doug's fans. I do another podcast called Beer with Strangers, and I do it at Extreme Brewing in Laurel, in case you didn't know. And there's lots of home brewers there, and I do it with Doug Griffith, and he pushes it, and it's always, and that's the other thing, like when you're doing it in a business, that one of the ways we got the early traction is we were doing it in a business, and people would be like, what are you doing?
Right.
And so when we do it in a business, people come and they're like, hey, and he has a contingent of people who work at Wallops Island. There's a Wallops Island homebrew club that gets their stuff from him, and he goes down. And so these are guys who drive an hour a day
to get,
so they will listen to literally anything apparently. So we have, I think, on the order of like 60-ish downloads every week.
That's great.
And I'm sure 20 of them are the Wallops Island folks. But yeah, the Wallops Island folks, actually, when we went off iTunes for maybe 6 months, because I couldn't get the production done and my equipment was shoddy, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And I got mail.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, what happened to the podcast? And I'm like, thanks for noticing. And so when we came back, we made this big push and everybody was really happy to have us back. So no, but I got recognized. Somebody's like, hey, aren't you that beer book guy? And I'm like,
oh, wow. That's
awesome. No one can ever talk to me again. So
right.
it's been fun. And with the other book coming out in May 9th, I'm going to make another push. One of the things talking about using this, I'm still on this. One of the things I'd like to do is I'm going to start doing a live beer talk podcast instead of doing just a book signing where I sit like a schmuck.
Oh, right.
I'm going to go to the brewery, interview the brewer, sell books afterwards.
Yeah.
And so that way, even if I don't sell any books, or even if I only sell a couple books, I have the podcast. And what's weird is I don't feel like I need to establish myself as a beer authority so much as a culture authority, and I'm just kind of starting with beer. So when I move on to food or whiskey or whatever I'm doing next, it'll be, oh, he's that guy that talks to those people about what they do. Well,
it kind of makes sense in why we've been doing what we've been doing for as long as we have. Is I like that, culture authority. We used to say about the website being, the source of what's happening, but it's not just like a calendar or something like that. I mean, and obviously we talk about the marketing aspect of things. We talk about the beer and bars and restaurant aspect. But so I like that. I like that, the wording on that.
Yeah.
I'm going to totally steal that from you.
Knock yourself out. You can be a culture impromptu.
No, what is it? Impresario.
Impresario. There we go. I'm still a little cloudy, folks. I apologize.
I am the cultural impresario.
Yeah.
Impresario.
Pop culture.
Okay.
The popular, area, the region.
I like it when you say popular culture instead of pop culture.
Yeah, well, because pop culture is bubblegum, but popular culture is something to be studied. Yeah. Pop culture is something to be known. Right. It's to quip about. You make R2D2 jokes. Yeah. That's pop culture. Popular culture is thinking about how bars and young people interact with one another, and
Yes.
It sounds like you could give a talk about popular culture.
I think we just have.
Yeah, but you can't give a talk about pop culture.
Yeah, right.
Not a serious one.
Right. You can't be an impresario.
Right. And so, speaking of your cultural impresario-ness, I got a chance to watch another of your 3D videos.
Yes.
360 videos.
What'd you think of the 360 tour?
I had it pointed the right way this time, which helped.
That's good.
I pointed it at the ceiling for a while just to make sure it's boring. It is.
Right.
But no, I think it's a great job. I don't think you could make more than like a 10-minute. You couldn't make a 10-minute video of that.
No,
that's for
a
minute 30.
Well, no,
minute 40.
So to catch everybody up, it was Starboard opening weekend. We'll get into that in a minute. But on Sunday morning, and why we got the whole 360 camera is I did a nice little walkthrough, and I got a drink from Megan, and I gave a high five to Eric and cheers Matt, and walked into the kitchen, and so it was this whole sort of guided tour. And sat down. It was about 2 minutes long.
Right.
And that's the one you saw, right?
That's the one I saw, yes.
And I think,
cool soundtrack.
Yeah. And so it's got a look. And
I know that's a laid on soundtrack, or does that just happen to be the music?
No, that was laid on. So, so that's the thing, is this is super easy to use and super easy to get. But because of doing what I do, if you want those little transitions, I cut out the woman who walked right up to me and sneezed in my face.
That's too bad.
I cut that piece out, and a little bit of the kitchen, just because there still needs to be some of the mystery there.
Right. The magic.
The magic. It was a nice tour. I don't know if you saw this one. We were doing work up in Bethany. We were coming back through, checking in on our client, 99 Sea Level in Bethany Beach. It was a beautiful day. We were having a drink. I had the camera with me. So I just went and I clamped it on the deck, and you can hear, the waves crashing.
Oh, I didn't see that one at all.
Now that is one that you could, it was 4 minutes long and like no motion, like maybe a little old lady walking down the boardwalk. And to me, I thought it was cool to be able to have something that is like you're sitting on the deck,
right
there on the boardwalk in Bethany Beach.
like the fireplace.
Yes, like the Yule log in Christmas for 5 hours.
Right.
Well, we only did it for 4 minutes, but I thought that was neat. Although I went back and it was it was nice and relaxing. You hear the waves crashing, like I said, and that sort of thing. And I'm like, the only thing missing is like you need some like seagulls or something like that to really kind of make it feel like. So I downloaded some effects and laid that in. I feel kind of cheap about that, but at least I'm admitting it here. That
I'm sorry. I just saw the movie Nightcrawler. Oops, excuse me. I just saw the movie Nightcrawler.
I've heard a lot about it. I haven't seen it.
That's okay. That plays into moving things around. He at one point, spoilers, he moves stuff in a crime scene to make it look. He improves the shot.
Yeah.
And that's it.
The funny, like he's kind of psychotic, right?
Oh yeah, he's absolutely.
So we had this kid who was working with us last year, and he saw that movie. He's like, Todd, you should see it. It really reminded me of you, not the psychotic part, but
let's put a little English on the facts, make them prettier.
Yeah, so if you watch the 99 Sea Level, there was some maniacalness that was done.
Oh no, it's on Netflix. Take the hour and a half.
Jake Gyllenhaal, right?
Yeah, it's really worth it. Except that you'll never be able to look at Jake Gyllenhaal again without being like just grossed out and creeped out. Just wow, he does a great job.
I like that a lot.
And so let's talk about it. Opening weekend at Starboard.
Yeah, it was a great weekend by most accounts, none of which are official yet. It was the best Saturday of an opening weekend that they had. We were there for about 24 hours. So I did my best to take little bits of, of footage so that I wasn't overwhelmed with how much stuff.
That's something that comes with practice. When I remember I used to go to events and I'd shoot like 700 photos.
Yeah. It's like, why did I do that?
And now I'm like 1, 2, 3, go.
Yeah. I got it.
You just make sure you get what you need. And once you get the best, like you get something, you're like, all right, well, that's going up front.
Yeah.
Like that's the best one. I'm not going to do better than that.
Yeah.
And then if you don't feel like shoot later, you're like, I have that, you know? So getting the good stuff early on is critical.
So we got the good stuff early on. And then what ended up happening is, a couple of orange crushes and a couple beers and maybe a shot or two. Then the GoPro comes out, and then it's more just like, hanging out and goofing off. And then 170 clips later, there's some GoPro footage. But
the worst part about that is, especially if you don't have the sense not to drink, and again, been there, you're like, I'll remember it. It's somewhere like in the middle.
Yeah.
You're like, it's got a 5 minute, I think.
Yeah.
And then rather than have the sense to just watch it all the way through, and you skip around.
Yeah.
And so you have an hour's worth of footage, and you spend an hour and a half trying to figure out which one it is instead of just watching it through. You're like, if I just watch it through, I would have found it after 20 minutes.
I would have been there by now.
Yeah.
But it was a great time. And actually one of the coolest things that I did, and I got to have, it definitely was a highlight. I wanted to get the Bloody Mary bar, and so it's something big that they promote. It's 80 feet long, and it's the biggest Bloody Mary bar and that sort of thing. But what was pretty cool about it is I stayed until after close, because that's when they set it up. So Saturday night at 3:00 in the morning, the bartenders who have been working a 16-hour day have to set up the Bloody Mary bar. Because it's completely broken down. So, these people are, this is their rock star weekend.
Right.
And I give them, again, all the credit for doing what they do, because they came in, everybody had a piece in it, just like, silent machines, because they're exhausted.
Right.
Putting stuff together, putting the all of the spices and all of the add-ons for the Bloody Marys. And it was pretty neat to kind of watch that. I was, a little tired and maybe woozy myself, but going back and reviewing the footage, even with that, it was pretty neat. So that was a highlight.
One of the things that we're struggling with in my family is when to do a vacation. And it just occurred to me that maybe we would do something like, instead of going to Wildwood, which we've been doing the last couple of years, maybe we would go to do it, because I don't mind Bloody Marys. They're not my thing.
Right.
I'll have one,
Sure.
but I won't. But everybody else is like really into them.
Yeah.
Like they're like, we're gonna have Bloody Marys all morning on Sunday. So I wonder if that's something that they would be interested in. That seems like
well, you know, it's kind of like going to Disney World and you get caught up in it, you know? Right? Like you get caught up in everything that's going on. You see, like you talk to people about what they're putting in, and you know, it's like,
I'm sorry. So is it like a build your own Bloody Mary?
So yeah, so it's build your own. They have, I don't know, 80 different types of mixes, and then they have 20 different hot sauces, and then they have every McCormick spice you can name. Then they have a cold section that doesn't go out at 3 o'clock in the morning,
right?
But pickled things, olives,
pickled things.
all various sundry of add-ons, and cucumbers and celery stalk. That's me. I can't stand the celery stalk, but
that's the only part I like.
Well, we should get a Bloody Mary together, and then you can have that.
I actually have. I don't know if I told you this. I will have an afternoon virgin Bloody Mary. Did I ever tell you about that?
No, it's called V8.
I have V8 and horseradish sauce, and I own horseradish in my in the refrigerator here. So I'll put like one jar of horseradish sauce is good for maybe 2 weeks. Yeah. I put a lot of horseradish, and it's funny.
I like the horseradish.
I was making a joke the other day on the internet. It's like, you really, if you've never had a V8 in the afternoon, you might actually slap your head. It's like, yeah, that's great. Now I'm full and I'm invigorated, and it's not coffee, but it's also not a burger. So it's like a coffee burger. Yeah. Except neither of those things.
I might try that, because Bloody Marys for me go back to when I was a child, and my grandfather, who had a big garden, would can tomatoes, and as part of canning tomatoes, and he always had V8, but then they would make their own tomato juice, and then they make their own Bloody Mary mix. So like, it's been part of my lexicon for a long time.
Yeah, it's weird for me to say this sentence, but I don't miss the vodka. I mean, I'm not a vodka guy. Maybe that's, but no, I don't miss the vodka. Real quick plug: if you're gonna make a Bloody Mary with vodka, try the new Dogfish Head. Have you had the Dogfish Head vodka?
I've had
the gin.
I've had the gin,
the hop flavored gin or whatever.
Yes,
they do a vodka that's not. It's not gonna punch you in the face, but it's not terribly subtle either. It's got flavors. It's not flavored. It's just got. It's a little bit complex, and I wonder what it would do. I don't know if it would get lost in a Bloody Mary or not, and how subtle your palate would have to be.
I don't know.
I stay to the shots, so
we'll head up to the new restaurant, Chesapeake in Maine.
Chesapeake in Maine, right?
And maybe we'll have one up there.
Yeah, not during the summertime.
No.
I'm going to go there once this summer for my book signing, but other than that, I don't think I'll be up there very, very much.
So what do you got?
Oh, I got all sorts of stuff. There are only two things I want to talk about. I'm pretty sure I spoke about the other thing. There's an app that NPR put out probably 6 months ago by now, called what is the date on this? January. Yeah, 4 months ago. It's called the NPR One app.
Okay.
And it's a stroke of genius, and keep your eyes out for more people doing stuff like this.
Okay.
NPR.
Tell me more, Tony.
Put out their own app, because you're going to need a Todcast app before too long.
Okay.
It's Pandora for NPR shows.
Oh, so it's like random play.
It just random plays NPR shows.
That's good.
So it gets people. It's the thing is that they're producing these anyway. And many of them have a lot of followers. Some of them don't have many followers.
Sure.
And some of them have, but those are different people. Like this 1,000 people listens to On the Media, and this 1,000 people listens to the Peter Sagal show. Right. Wait, don't tell me. Right. Couldn't remember the name of the show. How much fun is that? And so the idea is that you'd listen to Wait, Don't Tell Me on the NPR One app instead of just downloading it itself. And then after that, it would say, hey, next up is On the Media. And you can listen to it or not listen to it. You could skip it and say next up.
Right. Or I like this, I don't like that.
And then it gives you and then you can expand your you're listening
Right.
without having to download the podcast. Like I went through again, as I do every 6 months or so, and weeded out my podcast. There are some that I'm like, I just don't have the time to listen to. The one I have not subscribed and deleted a podcast more often than I've done so with that Hollywood Babylon podcast. I can
upload it.
Yeah, I listen to 3 and I'm like, this is the same show every week. And then one week it's like a slow week and I run out of shows. I'm like, let's see what's going on. And I'm like, yeah, it's all right. And I listen and I'm like, yeah, it's exhausting. So the NPR One app is more like Pandora, where you don't have to commit to downloading anything. Right. You can just stream and kind of scroll through their shows. And I feel like any media company that's putting out any radio station that's not doing this, it's I mean, if it's talk radio and the talk radio,
right?
It's kind of, I guess, an NPR kind of thing, but for podcast, Earwolf, I think, has it for podcast networks, the All Things Comedy Network.
Right. They have a couple different podcasts.
Right. People that have 10 or 15 podcasts in a network might be well served to have this kind of streaming app where you still listen to your favorite one.
Right.
On that app, and then it streams the other one, and so it also kind of bypasses the need to download it on iTunes and things like that.
So that's, I mean, we're gonna need a Tony Russo.
I really am. I
guess how many you're up to 4 now?
I'm 3.5. I'm still working on the Ocean City Experience is not live yet.
Okay.
I've got some stuff recorded for it. I have to find a way. I can't book guests. I couldn't.
Oh, really?
It's just people. It's weird how confused people still are. They're like, and I'm sorry. And so it's like a radio show. It's like, I can't explain this anymore.
Right.
So I think it's.
Are you playing the vinyl records?
Yeah. Right.
Remember somebody said that to us?
Yeah. Are you the ones playing the records? No. Although I can see why you would think that. One time we were doing this show at the Burley Oak Brewery. And we have microphones, and it was vinyl record night, which was promoted. And so people came up to us and like, well, they've got electronics. Sort of I mean, there's no turntable, so I don't know how they thought we were going to play a vinyl record without a turntable. Maybe my long nails up against the microphone. But I think the idea behind the Ocean City Experience now is going to be almost like a call-in show. I've decided that I'm going to steal almost whole cloth from Marin. I don't know if you've listened to Marin's podcast, the WTF podcast.
Okay.
Does the interview, puts on a front and a back.
Yeah.
And I mean, his is an hour. This is going to be still half an hour, maybe 45 minutes. But because I can get people from the site to call in.
Right.
And so I record the interview. They tell me about their heydays in Ocean City, blah, 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 blah. Talk to them about that. Hey, then I'm like, hey, I talked to this person about that, and here it is. And then at the end of it, I'm going to do my Ocean City in 60 seconds, which is just a preview of the coming weekend.
Right.
Pop, put it up, and then once people have heard it, they'll be like, oh, all right. So, and then maybe I can get them to come here and into my media.
So the studio.
The studio. But this is actually the only one that's recorded in the studio. Sometimes Stephanie comes up here, but increasingly we're just going to
I like this. I think
saltwater.
I think this will continue to be. We made improvements today with
we put hangers up there. Next up is microphones. Because as part of my world book tour as it comes out. Yeah, one of those like Brian used to have in his studio, Brian Russo.
Oh yeah.
He had the clamps. Mm-hmm. And they were like arms, and they looked like they were from. I mean, it was a radio station. Maybe that's why they looked like
with like trampolines and stuff. So you don't,
right? But yeah, oh man, there was a guy. We did a podcast, and he was like, I'm like, stop. And you know when you can see people doing it, and you're like, oh, that's gonna sound awful later on.
Yeah.
And getting it out, audiology, Audacity.
Yes.
In case you don't know, their noise removal. It's pretty good.
It's pretty on
If
point.
you can get a couple seconds of the noise that you want to get rid of, they can tone it down.
So always record quiet.
Right.
That's the lesson.
Right.
That's our production lesson.
That's production. Yeah. Tony's tips. Todd's tips. What is it? And last but not least, before we wrap up real quick, I've started writing on Maryland.com just as a way. I'm writing about Worcester County because it's fun. I just, whenever I see something kooky on my way home, I take a picture of it and then I write a story about it. One of the things that I think is important is, as we have all these sites, and trying to put a little bit of content on each one each week is important.
Right.
I can't do another second of reporting.
Right.
So this is just stuff out of my head. Like
Right.
I drive by, like literally, it's like almost blurry. I'm like, okay, that's what we're writing about this week.
Right.
And those come pretty easily because it's like, this is the picture, this is what I think about it, and
Right.
I'm a moron.
Yeah.
You know?
And I don't care who knows.
Right. And so if you want to find that on Maryland.com, you're out of luck. You'll have to follow me on Twitter or Facebook. When I tweet out the link, you can there's no direct
link from Maryland.com.
No. Maryland.com, it doesn't have the front page doesn't support new articles. It's for something else. And I mean, we're fixing it, but we're getting through Annapolis.com first, and Shorecraft Beer and all those things I write on them all the time. So that's what I'm doing. If you want to see my writing, you can catch it on shorecraftbeer.com, where you can see the Doug and Tony Beer with Strangers podcast. And then on Annapolis.com, you can see press releases that I've copied and pasted. That's great. We have a couple bloggers actually that write for us on Annapolis.com. And I
would say you need to go to goodcleanfunlife.com and check out. We had a little write up done for the weekend, a few pictures, and a quick little teaser video that's on there. So trying to handle all aspects of.
It's a lot.
It's a ton.
It's a lot, and I've just peeled back 4 of like the 10 websites. But I heard they're adding more hours in the day next week.
That would be, I could use it.
Yeah, so we'll be up to 27-hour week. It's in Men in Black. They're they're on a a 36-hour day. We're Corinthian time.
Yeah. The calendar,
right.
Corinthian calendar.
But now I'm pretty sure I got nothing else. How about you?
I got nothing.
All right. Well, may Todd give you the sense to live in a small town.
We'll see you next week at Happy Hour. Cheers.